Good evening and welcome to the Pompey Politics Podcast.
I'm Ian Tiny Morris.
And I'm Simon Sansbury.
Well, everyone, and welcome to our 150th episode and the start of our third season of the online virtual Hustings. So congratulations, Simon. All of those hours of editing have been so worth it, haven't they?
Definitely. Just helping the great and the good get the message out there and understand the issues in local and national politics affecting Portsmouth. So here we are as we approach our 4th birthday, but we're better places to start than on our first Hustings of 2023.
Indeed, and where better to start than Charles Dickens. So a quick overview for those of you not familiar with the ward. So Charles Dickens Ward is based in the heart of the city, principally around Buckland, Landport and Portsea. It has the largest number of dwellings of any of the wards in Portsmouth at just over 11,000 dwellings in the sort of catchment area. It also has historically seen quite a low turnout. It's a ward that has significant amounts of social housing, and in recent years there have been a number of luxury large-scale student developments in the ward which are potentially starting to change the demographic of the area. There is an awful lot of economic deprivation in the ward, and there's a lot of support provided by the local councillors. Historically, it's been a very safe Labour seat for many years now, and it's also a ward that hasn't been without its political controversy. If we look back in 2017, the potential Labour candidate resigned days before the election, and although elected with Labour next to their name on the ballot paper, they stood as an independent. In 2019, the sitting councillor was deselected and replaced with another candidate, but Labour won the ward handsomely at that point, and everything was running well for Labour up until the end of last year, where the sitting councillor was again deselected by the Labour Party and is now an independent councillor. And Kirsty is another one of the councillors in Charles Dickens, is also now independent. So in a unique twist of fate, we have our two guests this evening, both of whom have sat in the ward as Labour councillors and are now both here standing on a different ticket.
Good evening, Cal. Good evening, Yaya.
Good evening to you, everyone.
Okay. Thank you both for agreeing to come along. As Ian was saying there, a bit of history in the ward, and there's some results that I'm just throwing up on the screen there of recent results. So certainly all to play for, and it is, as Ian said, one of the wards with the lowest turnout. And one of the things that may well affect turnout this year is that this is the first year that you're going to need to use photo ID in order to be able to vote in person. So if you want to vote in person, you'll need some form of photo ID, whether that's a driving license or one of the other forms of photo ID. It doesn't have to be in date, by the way, but you do need to have some sort of photo ID. But if you don't have any, you can actually apply for a form of photo ID by April the 25th. So that's free. You apply online. I tested this out a few weeks ago. You make an application online, send them, upload a photo, and I got mine in about 5 days. But also you can register for a postal vote by April the 18th. And of course, postal votes, you don't need any form of photo ID. But do remember, leave a post-it note on the back of your front door if you're not used to carrying photo ID with you and you're intending to vote in person on May the 4th. Take your ID with you so that you don't get turned away at the polling station. But yeah, so for May the 5th, make sure you got your photo ID. Register to vote by post by April the 18th, and register for free photo ID to be able to vote in person if you don't already have any by April the 25th. And if you're not registered to vote at all in this election, you have until April the 17th to still register. So if you're not on the electoral roll now, there is still time for you to register in order to be able to vote in this election. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So that was that. And shortly before we went on air, we conducted a highly scientific coin toss, which meant that we had a way of deciding which of our two candidates was going to go first. We did, just to be clear and upfront, we did reach out to other local parties in the area. And wherever we knew or suspected a name of a candidate, we did reach out for other candidates and invite them to come on to take part in the hustings. But sadly, we didn't receive any answer. So we haven't had any response from either the Conservative candidate or the Labour Party candidate. But thankfully, we did have answers from Cal and Yaya, who are here to represent their respective selves. Cal obviously now standing as an independent, and Yaya standing for the Lib Dems.
Thank you.
So we go on to our 2-minute speeches. So because of that coin toss, that makes Cal our first speech. So let's get ourselves into the mode for that. So Cal, if you'd like to start your speech, that would be lovely.
Great, thank you, Simon, and thank you, Ian, also for the invite on today. And well done, both of you, for reaching the milestone of 150 episodes of the podcast. I think it's a really important way for people to be engaged with local politics and find out what's going on in their community. So I say I'm standing as an independent candidate in this election. My background is that I've lived in Portsmouth pretty much my whole life. My background in terms of work before coming into standing for local election was I've worked in various different social housing services, starting off in homelessness services, then working as a benefits advisor for a housing association, and going on to work in a number of different roles within the social housing sector. I live in the heart of the ward. I live in a council flat in Lamport, right in the middle of our community. I think it's really important that when we choose local representatives, we choose people who understand the issues, understand the area, and are able to kind of speak up and try and change things for the better. As I understand it, I'm the only candidate in this election who lives in the ward. My focus since being elected has been on a number of key issues that I see that are affecting people around here. The first one, in part because of my interest and background in housing, has been to campaign on housing issues, whether it's helping people to get rehoused, looking at repairs and maintenance issues within social housing, supporting people who are homeless, and also campaigning for the council to build new housing. I've also done a lot of work around supporting people who are in work and are trying to get into work, so that there's decent jobs, pay and conditions for those, working very closely with local trade union branches, of which I've previously been an active member as well. Had a number of successes in terms of lots of successful casework outcomes for supporting people, drawing in new investment into the ward, and generally just being a strong advocate and voice for our area. I was elected as a Labour Party councillor back in 2019. Unfortunately, recently, due to internal issues within the Labour Party, I think it's fair to say, I'm no longer part of that organisation, but I'm still here as an active member of our community and representative as an independent. And I will be the independent candidate in this election for Charles Dickens ward voters. I hope that voters will recognise the work that we've done over the years and vote independent in this election, even if perhaps they normally vote differently, or if they're planning to vote differently in the general election. I'm hoping that people will look at this local election and choose the candidate who is best placed to work hard for our community and support the people who live here.
Thank you, Cal. My apologies. I did let you overrun, but I didn't give you warning that you're about to come to time. So I'll allow Yaya the same amount of time, just to be clear. So my apologies to you both for that. Yaya, that was about 2 minutes and 20 seconds. So away you go.
Yes, you can start.
Yes, please. Yeah.
First of all, thank you very much for your broadcasting team to send the invitation to me to attend. My name is Yahiya Chowdhury. I am living in this city over 25 years. I am professionally as a businessman, different sector. Also, I work as a legal advisor, legal executive for my business. I was elected 2015 as a councillor. I work very hard for the ward all over the city. I help every single community to build the infrastructure and give the housing sector as much as possible. One of the house I found in 2016, 8 children with parents living with the one toilet. Then I met personally with the housing managing director. I said, look, can you do one favor? So what is it, Chowdhury? This is the problem. Next to it, he sent, after 1 week, he sent the builder and he done the next toilet for them. So I done the several work. Just I give the one example. When I was a councillor, I done so much. I doesn't tell the people, say, please wait for my 1 month to come to my surgery within the 2-hour time. No, I said, please send an email, send a text message with your ID. And I can work day and night for the community. However, some reason it doesn't get the nomination due to some political issue. I went to Kosham. I done the very good campaign. And then 1 year, I done campaign again from the Liberal. I joined with the Liberal. I'm very pleased with them. They are very activate. In the city, they are doing very good work for the city. So I'm impressed by their work and I joined with them. And I'm hoping I'm continue with them rest of my political life, political career with them. So I think regards to the Charles Dickens ward, we needed to improve the infrastructure and we needed to attractive the city as like a commercial road, day-to-day shop are closing. We need to do hard work for the community, especially for the city, especially Charles Dickens wards is the worst ward where is the need lot of work in this city, which is outstanding over the 15 years, I think, still need to do lot of work. So I'm standing again
to a close, please, Yaya. Sorry that we've gone.
I'm standing again, and to help every sector community, especially Charles Dickens ward. I hope every single community support me. That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. So if we move now into our questions, and we will pose these to both candidates. You have 1 minute for your response, and then we will, if you wish to come back on something the other candidate has said, you will have 30 seconds at the end. So if we just start by, as you've been out and about in Charles Dickens on the doorstep, what are the people telling you are the biggest issue in Charles Dickens ward? And can I ask that first to Yaya, please?
Thank you very much for your question. There is number issue is the housing issue. Today I went to Ladywood House. What I see, people throwing the leaflet on the floor. They don't want to see the politician. They say 2 years we are waiting. Some jobs are still outstanding. Nothing can be done. There is antisocial behavior, dumping, rat. Lady come to and say, Chowdhury, take the photo of the rat. Take the photo of the rubbish, mattress, all these things. So especially is the housing issue and people struggling with the cost of living bill associated with that. And we know that people who are live in Charles Dickens dying in average 10 years earlier than people who live in only 4 miles away in Brighton. This level of intercity divided is really scary. And the Lebdam have been working a number of things close that gap thanks to pressure from the Lebdam Council. NHS England now providing 100,000 more dental treatment in the city. Recently, we raised the issue of GP under fundraising, under staffing at a national level, with the visit from Daisy Copper MP, who is the Lebdam MP, health spoken person. I understand she will be raising this issue in Parliament in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Yaya. And Cal, what do you hear are the main issues in Charles Dickens?
Thanks, Ian. So over the years, I guess, given my background working in housing and my kind of particular interest in the housing crisis and the way it's impacting the local people, I've picked up, and I do pick up a lot of housing casework, more or less daily, getting new people contacting me, including, I think, 11 p.m. last night over Facebook was the most recent one. And there's various different aspects of the way in which the housing crisis is impacting on local people. The first kind of major one that we do a lot of work around is to try and ensure that repairs and maintenance services of social landlords are up to scratch and people's homes are being maintained to a decent standard. Also get a lot of people contacting us who are overcrowded and need to move for kind of health or medical needs. Similarly, lots of homeless individuals and families who need that extra support to try and get rehoused. And just to finish, I guess the key solution to lots of those issues, in my view, is for the council to build new council housing. And over my time on the council and before, I've always been a strong advocate for new council housing at properly affordable rates, so that people have got decent and safe places to call home.
Thank you, Cal. Do either of you want to come back on any of those points? In which case, I will hand you over to Simon.
Yes, I like to.
Oh, yep.
I
Go,
think
Yaya.
I think especially honest, best of my knowledge, I'm working 30 years in the housing sector, for my housing business, real estate business, and also I help the community. There is need to lots of work to do to housing sector. I saw a lot of vulnerable people in the house struggling. They need support. Carpet need to be changed. Windows are dirty. Curtains are filthy. There is a lot of things need to be done. So we need to be need to be with inspector, need to be visit each single flat. More or less 75% is needed to be maintained. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Yaya. So the purpose of the comeback is if there's something your opponent has, I use the word opponent, the other person has said, if you wish to challenge or comment on that, if we could just try and keep that focus, that would be grand, please. Simon, over to you for question 2.
Thank you very much, Ian. So question 2, Commercial Road used to be the prime destination shopping area in the city. What would you want to see happen to revive its fortunes? And if I can ask that question first to Cal, please.
Yeah, thanks, Simon. I think everyone that visits Commercial Road will see that there does need to be a big change. The area has kind of really fallen down over the years and is in need of kind of serious investment. And I think different use of space, something that I'm particularly keen to promote, and in fact I have been working with a number of groups recently to try and do this, is to support community groups, charities, social enterprises to take over vacant spaces, to bring them back into use, and provide that kind of social benefit for the services that they offer. So recently we supported the Repair Cafe to take up an empty unit within Cascades, and we're also working with a community group that wants to set up a social enterprise hub within the city centre, so we're kind of supporting them around that. I think there's also a need for more kind of arts and creative space. I'm also working with a number of local artists to look at opportunities there may be for their artwork to be displayed or kind of engaged around the city centre. And then lastly, something that a little bit more left fields that we've kind of been feeding in and asked the council to look at over the last couple of years particularly around the redevelopment of the city centre north, is a city farm. So on my kind of travels around the country, and in particular in London, they've quite often got city farms in kind of inner city, deprived areas, and it provides that kind of access to nature and access to greenery. So that's kind of something a little bit more random, perhaps, but something that we're quite interested to kind of feed into the consultation that's happening around the city centre and look if there may be opportunities for something like that to take place.
Okay, that's lovely. Thank you very much. Yaya?
Yes, thank you. I think high street across the UK are suffering, especially post-pandemic, when everyone got used to buying things online. Regeneration is difficult, it is expensive and time-consuming. It is right to say the Liberal Democrat got things wrong in the past, but looking forward, will be committed over 10 million this year to help the regenerate the commercial road. And this is massive boost to be in this area, trying to encourage the local community to shopping within the Portsmouth, making more attractive the shopping center, and also make some community place and green as much as possible. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Was there anything at all in that either of you wanted to come back in with your 30-second rebuttal to your fellow candidates' responses? Okay, that's lovely. Ian?
So if we look at these elections as a whole, the almost certain outcome is that the council will again be in no overall control. So if you're successful, how will you ensure that you get the best deal for Charles Dickens? And can I ask that first to Yaya, please?
Thank you very much for your question again. So the election really simple. There are about third of this seat up for the election this year that won't be changed in hand. And 2/3 that means that Liberal Democrat will run the council unless the Labour Party decide they want the Conservative to run the council. If I elected, I will be at the heart of the decision making Portsmouth as a Liberal Democrat. That means it will be able to stand up, represent, view the value of the resident every opportunity. That really it is Labour, Independent and Conservative councillor can do that.
Thank you, Yaya. And so can I pose the same question, please, to Cal?
Yeah, so if I were to be re-elected, what I would continue to do is provide a strong and consistent voice for local people, demanding the resources and the support that our area needs. I think that is something that I've done consistently since being elected, initially as a Labour councillor and more recently as an independent councillor. I think as an independent councillor, one thing that I can add to that mix is to try and foster better cross-party collaboration. Something I found when I was part of the Labour group is that inevitably within a kind of political party system, things do get very divisive, and quite often perhaps good ideas, perhaps kind of decent policies are opposed because it's a different political party that's bringing them forward. I think we need to be much more open as a council, as a group of elected representatives, to working together for the best interests of local people, no matter whose idea it is or whose policy it was to begin with. And I think more recently, I mean, one example of being able to impact change as an independent councillor is at the last full council meeting, myself and Kirsty Miller were successfully able to pass a motion based on an issue that had been brought to us by lots of local residents around the council's use of bailiffs for people who fall into council tax arrears. That's a really important issue that is impacting on lots of local people, and we were able to get cross-party support for that, and hopefully that's going to be taken forward and see policy changed so that people who do fall into debt are better supported in the future.
Thank you, Cal. Either of you want to use your 30 seconds? If not, I shall pass to Simon. Simon.
Okay, that's lovely. Thank you very much. Okay, so so the next question: there have been many large-scale student developments in the ward. Does this detract from the sense of community, or is it just an evolution of it? And that's first to Cal, please.
Simon. I think the issue is that in any area, there needs to be a mixed and a balanced community. And I think the development that we've seen brought forward in the city centre over the past decade or so, it hasn't been mixed and it hasn't been balanced, because every available square inch that comes forward for development has been put there for student accommodation. And it's not just general student accommodation. More often than not, it's high-end luxury student accommodation where people are being charged £200 plus a week for tiny little rabbit hutches. So I think we do need more of a mix, more of a balance. Students do contribute a really important amount to the city centre and to the city more generally, but there needs to be that balance between provision for students and provision for local people, and in particular that kind of social and council housing for local people. What I would say is kind of one benefit perhaps that lots of people don't really recognise for the development that does take place in the city centre is that every time a big block goes up, whether it's students or not, the developers have to contribute towards a local fund called the Community Infrastructure Levy. And in Charles Dickens ward, we have had a reasonable amount in that. And that's something as ward councillors, we've been really involved in promoting that funding and engaging with local community groups to distribute it in the best possible way. And what we've done is really kind of prioritise passing on that funding to grassroots community groups so that they can support the people who live in their area. And over the last couple of years, I've been involved in distributing over £200,000 of that funding and to the direct benefit of the community groups that we've worked with.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much. And the same question to Yaya, please.
Thank you very much for your question. The government have forced ridiculous housing target on the council, around 17,000 extra home in the city. We still challenging the government on this and hope they will reduce the amount, but in the meantime, they be told us to look at building everywhere, even on the green space. We cannot allow that to happen. In terms of the community, Portsmouth has fantastic community spirit. It is welcoming and diverse, and people take lots of stuff in their stride. I think it is evolution of what modern day community look like. Also, I can make student is our asset, our next future for this country. When student is not there, our city is goes economics, collapse, taxi driver, shopper, all these things. We need to do balancing, and we need to develop more and more, make attractive Charles Dickens word, which is heart of the city of Portsmouth. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And anybody want to make use of their rebuttal on that question? Okay, Ian.
So there's general recognition that there is a cost of living crisis at the moment. Practically, what can local councils do to better support residents? And can I ask that first to Yaya, please?
First of all, we have to make sure the gas utility bills, especially gas, electricity, give the proper maintenance to the housing, make sure people get proper maintenance, especially Charles Dickens ward. And that will be help in this crisis to build up our next generation and help the community as much as possible.
Thank you. Thank you, Yaya. So, Cal, cost of living crisis, what practically can local councils do better?
Thanks, Ian. I mean, I think it's worth firstly just signposting people who may be listening that are struggling with the cost of living issues that Portsmouth City Council has set up a cost of living hub online, which is well worth checking out. There's lots of signposting there to the relevant local support and resources. I mean, something that we do as ward councillors is we make ourselves kind of regularly available to the community and to local residents to come and talk to us about their issues. And quite often we deal with issues around the cost of living and kind of poverty. So we organise weekly coffee mornings and advice surgeries all around different parts of the ward so that we can do what we can to reach out to residents and offer that support. One of our primary focus as local councillors for Charles Dickens ward is tackling poverty, because we recognise there are serious issues within the community that need to be tackled, and we're kind of doing what we can to work hard to support people through that. A number of kind of key campaigns that I've personally been involved in that are trying to address the cost of living and improve people's material living standards. Firstly, the campaign for the council to become an accredited living wage employer. This is something that I've led and continue to lead and push. This would see a pay rise for thousands of local low-paid workers, including over 2,000 frontline social care workers. We've recently been campaigning for the council to extend free school meal provision, because at the moment, the government's definition of who should get a free school meal is fairly restrictive. It's only those on the very, very, very lowest incomes. We think there are lots of people who are in work that are struggling to get by, who can't afford to provide food for their kids at lunchtime and would benefit from that extension of provision at school. And then lastly, as I mentioned recently, dealing with council policies for people who fall into debt, particularly with their council tax arrears. We're finding that lots of people are being mistreated and harassed by bailiffs acting on behalf of the council. So we've been campaigning on this issue, dealing with individual pieces of casework and passing a motion through full council to try and change that policy so it's more supportive.
Thank you both. And if neither of you has anything to add, Simon.
I like to add something.
Go, Yaya.
This cost of living, it is impact the lots of people. This council estimated that 3 to 5 family in Portsmouth are infected by the cost of living in Portsmouth. We had to make a really decision. We had to increase the council tax this year, which is very political party supported. But with this, that would also increase the support we give to the peoples. But Liberal Democrat put 3.9 million to support the family, because we know that needed lots of more support at the moment. We also created cost of living hub so people can be find all help available to them on the place. Thank you.
Thank you, Yaya. Cal, would you like to add anything there?
No, thank you, Ian.
Thank you, Cal. Simon.
Thank you very much, Ian. Okay, so so our next question: the council-owned port is seeing a significant increase in cruise liner visits. Will this benefit the ward, or will passengers just be bussed through it to more affluent parts of the city? And that first to Yaya, please.
Thank you very much for your question. The port that bring the council around £27 million in a year. This help pay for all the great stuff we do, including weekly bin collection, community warding, citywide food waste, adults and children's social care, and much more. It is really smart move to buy the port, and is one of the big reasons the city council isn't facing bankruptcy like Labour lead Southampton or Conservative lead Hampshire. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Cal?
Thanks, Simon. I guess the answer depends, like you say, on where people are going and where people are spending their money when they come to Portsmouth. I think there is a danger, like you say, that people just pass through Charles Dickens ward, go spend their money at kind of big corporate-owned businesses, etc., in which case we're not really going to see much of that wealth trickle down to local community and the people that live here. What I would like to see happen is a real focus put on trying to divert as much as possible of that tourism industry into local businesses, into organisations that are very much rooted in the local economy and society here in Portsmouth. I think there's also opportunities there for social enterprises and other not-for-profit organisations to engage with those people that are coming to visit Portsmouth and find out what it's like. I think within the wards, there are lots of reasons for people to come to Charles Dickens wards and spend their time. So hopefully people won't be travelling through. We've, of course, got Charles Dickens' birthplace, as the name of the ward suggests. We've also got the dockyards and all the heritage assets that are associated with that. And also lots of Portsmouth's nighttime economy is focused within Charles Dickens wards in Guildhall area, but also we've got lots of kind of other restaurants and good local pubs also that people should definitely check out. Something that I've done on a number of occasions is to support local people who are running small businesses or social enterprises to try and engage better and get support from the council. One example I could give was a resident who lives in Lamport that was interested in setting up a business particularly aimed at the tourist trade for people that were visiting the port. And I was able to engage that person with the relevant officers at the council and the port to try and support their idea and take that forward. And then just lastly, I think something that has got to be mentioned in terms of the port is the air quality issues. I know we might go on to talk about it a little bit later, but just to mention now, of course, at the moment, these big cruise liners that are coming in, more often than not leaving their diesel engines running all day and night, and that's causing real issues for the people that live in the vicinity of the port, in Charles Dickens ward, also in Nelson and wider afield, because people are having to breathe in those noxious gases. I know there is a move for the council to introduce shore power, which will hopefully allow those cruise liners to plug in and turn off their diesel engines, which is something we've very much supported and lobbied for, and the sooner that can happen, the better.
Okay, that's lovely. Thank you. Did anybody want to make use of their rebuttal on that question?
Yes, I think it is pollution issue is all over the world, not only Portsmouth. We need to make the bread and butter fast food for the health education sector. We need money. And if we need to, as much as possible, green is not affecting our city by the pollution of the port. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, Cal, did you want to come back on that at all?
No, I've covered my points, thanks.
Thank you very much. Okay, Ian.
A perfect segue into our next question, which is that Charles Dickens has one of the lowest rate of car ownership of any ward in the city, but some of the worst air quality. What more do you think should be done to improve air quality in Charles Dickens? And can I pose that first to Cal?
Right. Thanks, Ian. As you say, we know that people in Charles Dickens ward, I think the last census data I saw talked about 63% of households within the ward not owning a car at all. And lots of people, I mean, we're very centrally located to lots of services, so lots of people don't need to drive, but I think it's also a wealth and an income thing. Lots of people can't afford the cost of running those cars. But yet we are subject to some of the worst levels of air pollution and poor air quality in the city. And I think there's a real fairness issue there around kind of the principle of the polluter pays. It should be the polluter consumes that pollution as well, rather than forcing it on to other people who haven't been so directly involved in its production. For me, the big kind of single thing that I would like to promote in terms of car ownership and air quality and all the rest of it is decent public transport. I think Portsmouth, it should be absolutely perfect for public transport. It's relatively small, compact. You could have a really good bus network that runs at an affordable rate around the city, linking up different parts of the community. At the moment, we just don't have that because we're being failed by the private bus companies who are more interested in profiteering than providing a decent, affordable service to local people. For me, the obvious answer would be to set up a municipal bus company owned by the council and able to provide that local service. Unfortunately, at the moment, with the Tories in government, they've actually made it illegal for councils to set up municipal bus companies. But hopefully there will be a change of government in the not too distant future. And from what I've seen of Labour's policy offer around public transport, they are talking about allowing municipal bus companies. So as soon as that is allowed, it's something I'd really advocate for Portsmouth City Council to look at very closely. The other obvious thing to mention is the clean air zone that's been implemented around much of Charles Dickens wards. I think that is going to hopefully help improve things, but I was disappointed when the Lib Dems took out Kingston and Fratton Road from that clean air zone. I think most people in the city will be aware that that is one of the most polluted and corridors where there's quite often lots of traffic backed up with people leaving their engines running. I still don't quite understand the logic for taking it out of the clean air zone. And at the time, that was something I tried to challenge as an opposition councillor by calling in that decision and having it reviewed through the scrutiny management process. And just lastly, I think the other thing to mention is active travel. I think the more we can do to encourage people to not have to use cars if they are able to walk, bike, other forms of active travel. But of course, there are costs and issues that go along with that. So not everyone can afford a nice new bike or a bike for all the family. So there's issues around ensuring that active travel is accessible to everyone. And also a key issue that I've come up against a number of times within the ward is around storage. So lots of people want to use active travel, whether it's a bike or some other kind of mode of transport, but people typically in our wards live in flats and they don't have a lot of storage. So they don't have places that they can put their bikes and that they'd be safe. One of the things I'm doing with a number of residents in different blocks around the ward at the moment is to ask the council to install bike lockers or kind of bike sheds within the grounds of their blocks. So people haven't got to be dragging things up and down stairs, and they've got somewhere safe and secure to store them. And hopefully that will promote and encourage more usage as time goes on.
Right, Cal, you've rather pushed the boundaries of your 1 minute there a little bit, but so Yaya, feel free to expand your answer a little bit. What do you think should be done about pollution in Charles Dickens?
Thank you very much for your question again. If we see that this Charles Dickens is the heart of the city, council, majority of the development income coming from the Charles Dickens ward, like all the big building in the Charles Dickens. Lots of people are living in the Charles Dickens ward. We think introducing more green space will help and need more development. And that's why, as a part of the commercial road development, we too be building a brand new park. But there is also things we can do, like making it safer to use their bike in the city. And we be committed nearly £300,000 in this year budget to encourage that to redevelop. Thank you.
Thank you, Yaya. In which case, allow me to pass you on to Simon.
Okay, thank you very much. Just wanted to check, was there any use of rebuttals on that one at all? Cal, are you all right?
Yeah, nothing from me. Thanks, Simon.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the next question. So the ward experiences significant amounts of antisocial behaviour. Do you see the solution as enforcement or education? And if I can ask that first to Yaya, please.
Thank you very much for your question. We need to balance up because we need to educate the peoples, and we also need to be put enforcements. But first of all, we have to be display the awareness, make sure people understand, make sure who are doing this. We need to talk with them, encourage them not to do that. It is a bit both. We have to be on crime, but on this cause of crime too, we needed to invest more into our youth centers and provide young people more opportunity to do these things. I was shocked. It seemed at the last budget meeting, the Labour Party wanted to delay £270,000. That was supposed to go towards the project to keep young people active and out of troubles. Thanks to the Liberal Democrat and Cal Corkery, we keep that money in the budget and will go ahead. Thank you very much. And we also know that people committed crime because they are desperate, they are depressed, desperate to eat, to pay their bills, and generally just survive. The £3.8 million the Liberal Democrats are spending helping the family with the cost of living will take some of the pressure away. But there is still much more work to be done, and I look forward to working with the community to sort that out. Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much, Yaya. And Cal, if I can pose the same question to yourself, please.
Okay. Thanks, Simon. So unfortunately, antisocial behaviour is a common complaint that we hear from local residents, and we actually spend a lot of time kind of working with residents where issues do arise to try and address them and resolve them so that people can enjoy kind of peace and quiet and safety in their own home, something that everyone should be entitled to. I think the answer is enforcement, education, yeah, definitely. But I think we also need to talk about support. The support services that were there a decade or so ago, lots of them now have just gone. So there's lots of vulnerable people, lots of needy people, whether it's young people or older people, perhaps with social issues. Those support services that used to be there to try and enable people to improve their lives and perhaps not engage in kind of behaviours or lifestyles that are harmful, a lot of that has just been cut away over the course of austerity. So we need to recognise that and also always kind of promote the inclusion of those services when we're talking about budgets and funding. And in terms of the work that we do locally, where issues do arise, we're always very responsive to those. And something that we spend a lot of time doing is trying to pull different agencies together, because something that people tell us a lot of the time is that they don't feel that the council often is kind of speaking to different parts of the council often, or the police and vice versa. And there's various different agencies that need to be involved in addressing antisocial behaviour. Usually the landlord, whether it's a housing association or the Portsmouth City Council local housing office, the antisocial behaviour team. Quite often there may be social services involvement, the police, the community wardens. So what we've done on a number of occasions where there have been particularly severe instances of antisocial behaviour around the ward, it has organised meetings and invite all those different stakeholders along, as well as local residents. So we're getting everyone around the table to discuss what those issues are and how they need to be dealt with. One key issue that always comes out of those meetings is the importance of reporting. So I'd really encourage anyone that is experiencing antisocial behaviour to keep reporting it through to the council and also the police if it's a police matter. It's really important. I know that people do find it frustrating when they don't perhaps get a response or they don't get an immediate outcome to reports, but it's really important that that information is reported through so there is an evidence basis for the relevant authorities to take it up and deal with.
Okay, thank you, Cal. Okay, so was there any rebuttals needed on that one at all? We're both happy with that. Lovely, Ian.
Marvellous. So it leads us on to our final question before closing addresses. So the question's quite a simple one, which is that if you were successful at the end of your term, looking back, what would you hope would be different in Charles Dickens? And if I can ask that first to Cal, please.
Thanks, Ian. Well, I am now coming to the end of my first term, so looking forward perhaps to hopefully a second term. What I'd like to see is more investment in our area. We've always been strong advocates for Charles Dickens wards and the people who live here. In every council meeting we walk into, whether it be full council or committees or the kind of various informal meetings that we regularly have with council officers and local services, people always, I think, recognise and perhaps sometimes a bit frustrated that we're there advocating for the needs of our residents and the needs of our community for more investment in services and the people who live here. I'd also like to think that there's better living conditions as a result of the work that we've done around the wards. So we've campaigned and been successful for significant amounts of investment in the council housing blocks in various areas, and also investment in people's homes, so that where people are experiencing issues with their property, it's dealt with and the proper repairs and maintenance are provided. I'd also like to think that there's hopefully improved jobs. So we work, as I said earlier, very closely with local trade unions and employers to drive up pay and decent terms and conditions, so that when people go to work, they're earning enough to pay the bills, they're not experiencing in-work poverty, and they get fairly treated at work and are not kind of scared or being bullied or harassed in the workplace. And then finally, I'd like to think that local people feel that they've been listened to and supported. We spend a lot of time engaging with residents, listening to their concerns, understanding what the issues are, and then doing everything that we possibly can to support them to address those issues.
Thank you, Cal. And so, Yaya, if you're successful, what would you like to look back on and have achieved in your time in office?
Number one, I like to, first of all, to stop antisocial behavior. People can sleep peacefully. I like to see as much as possible support get by vulnerable people, disabled peoples, mentally suffering, depression, all these kind of people in Charles Dickens' world, to make sure are improved as much as possible. Also, I want to generate fair place for people to live. I want less people to be worrying about the cost of living and more people to be thriving. I want to see an area that continue to look out for each other, each our community do so well. I want more people in affordable housing, more people in education, and more people in long-term employment. I want every pensioner to not have to worry about their cost of heating, every young person to aspire and have a goals, and every family to feel like they don't have to add up the price of food as they go around to make sure they have enough to pay at the checkout. I am really ambitious of our area. Thank you.
Thank you, Yaya. And so if there are no other comments, then thank you both for answering the questions. I will pass to Simon now for closing remarks.
Okay, so thank you both for those questions. Now, following the order that we had earlier on for the opening speeches, we now come to our 1 minute closing speeches. Cal, it's yours is first, and when you're ready.
Simon, it's been the privilege of my life to represent the community that I live in and try and support the local people and improve our area for the benefit of everyone that lives here. I'm really proud of the track record that we've got of delivering action for local people when issues are brought to us, and also providing a strong voice for the people that live here, so that those voices are heard when decisions are made, and that our area gets the support and the resources that it needs. I've been really, really encouraged by the response we've got from local residents over the past weeks and months. Lots of people are quite angry and frustrated with the way in which we've been treated as their local councillor. People feel that they're being denied the choice that they made of who they want to represent them. And people have been really supportive and encouraging about me standing anyway, even though I'm not now with a political party, but to stand as an independent candidate to get re-elected, to continue doing the important local work that we've been engaging with in the past couple of years. And so there's one ask I was asked people who live in our area to think about is, however you might vote in normal elections, or however you're planning to vote in the next general election, when obviously the focus will be national issues and national political parties. In this election, please do consider thinking about who is going to be the best candidate, the person that's best placed to understand the local issues and be a strong voice for all of us that live here.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much. Yaya?
Thank you for giving the chance to talk about the last speech. If I elected, I make sure people of Portsmouth understand that Charles Dickens' word is the heart of the city. I am saying again, and this word is very, very important for our city. We need to redevelop. We need to work on that as much as possible. Whatever I believe, I have expertise of the housing and managing and development. If I got a win the election, if it's not, still I'm continue working for the Charles Dickens and Portsmouth for every single community. And I hope the local community, Portsmouth community, support me, and we can pray for them as far our belief. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, that's lovely. Well,
So thanks. Yeah. So thank you to both of our candidates for giving really candid and insightful answers there. And we're hoping over the next weeks in the run up to May the 4th that we can bring you a number of other wards. So please, if you are on social media, invite your local candidates to step forward, as we'll be more than happy to host them. So with thanks to both Yaya and Cal, you've been listening to the Pompey Politics Podcast. I've been Ian Tiny Morris.
and our guests have been
Cal Corkery
and Yaya Chowdhury. Okay, thank you. And I've been Simon Sansbury. So do join us for our next episode next week. We're just in the process of lining up which ward that will be. It's looking like that might well be St Jude. But do remember, please, that if you are intending to vote in person in May's local elections, you will need to take some form of photo ID with you. If you don't have any, you can register for some by April the 25th. Or you can register for a postal vote by April the 18th, so that you can vote from the comfort of your own home and therefore won't need any ID. More details, please just scan the QR code in the top left-hand corner of your screen. That takes you to our website where the further links to the Electoral Commission's information is there for you. But thank you very much, listeners. Please do like, follow and share, and help us make sure that we've got more candidates taking part. Bit of a shame, unfortunately, that we didn't have all of the candidates for Charles Dickens. But thank you to both Cal and to Yaya for taking part.
Thank you.
Thank you.